Dear children, me and you are living organisms. Do you know these plants are also living organisms? As we are made up of cells, these plants are also made of cells, living cells. So, today my topic is plant cell, the structure of plant cell. What all things are there inside the plant cells? So I'm going to draw the structure of plant cell. The outermost layer, wall, so rigid wall, it is known as cell wall. Cell wall. Inside this there is a membrane which is known as cell membrane. Cell membrane. Cell membrane is a very thin membrane, and it is composed of proteins and lipids. And this cell wall is composed of a carbohydrate which is known as cellulose. Now, inner to this is a liquid which is known as cytoplasm. Okay. Inside the cell, there is a liquid, a fluid kind of structure which is known as cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. Okay. As you can see in this model also, the green structure, this green fluid-like structure which is forming the base of the cell, this is known as cytoplasm. Here also we can see this green structure, entire the base of the cell, the fluid-like structure, this is known as cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm, all the cell organelles are lying. Okay. So there are different cell organs inside the cell. Now, what are cell organs? Cell organelles are the small, structures present inside the cell. There are many cell organs which have different functions of their own. So there are different cell organelles inside the cell. For example, this nucleus. Nucleus is the main, organelle of the cell. Like, it is the director of the cell. It directs all the functionings of the cell. So we see the structure of nucleus. It has double membrane, as you can see, 1 and 2. Two membranes are there. And it has pores also at places you can see there are pores also. Function of the pore is to transfer the material from inside of the nucleus to the outside of the cytoplasm. Inside it, there is also a liquid which is known as nucleoplasm. Okay, nucleoplasm. And there is interwoven structure which is known as chromatin. Chromatin. Now this is chromatin, which contains all the genetic information which is passed on from one generation to another generation. And when cell starts dividing, that time this chromatin material is changed into rod-shaped structure which are known as chromosome. So chromosome, if we see the structure of chromosome is made up of DNA and protein. And DNA, it has, many functional segments which are known as genes. So genes, they are transferred from one generation to another generation, and they carry the information from the parent to their offsprings. Like we resemble with our parents. Why? Because genes are transferred from one generation to another generation. Since we are talking about the plants, and the same thing happens with the plants also, the parent characteristics, they transfer to the next generation through these genes only. Okay, so it is present in nucleus. Then there is another organelle, small organelle structure is present, which is known as nucleolus. Nucleolus. So together, this entire structure, it forms nucleus, okay, which is the main director of the cell, which controls all the activities, all the functions of the cell. Then there is next organelle is mitochondria. Mitochondria. Mitochondria is known as powerhouse of the cell. Powerhouse of the cell. Because why powerhouse? Powerhouse, what does powerhouse do? It has energy. It produces energy. So similarly, mitochondria also, they produces energy in the form of ATP. So that is why it is known as powerhouse of the cell. Then there is another important organelle which is known as endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulums, it's of two types, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum means it has ribosomes, which is another organelle, ribosome on it. So ribosomes are very important because they form protein, they produce protein, and protein is the major constituent of the cell, because all these organelles are ultimately made up of proteins and lipids, the membrane. All organelles are basically membrane system only. So protein is very important constituent of the cell. Then there is Golgi body. Golgi bodies there. Golgi body help in storage, modification of the products, packaging of the products, and they form lysosomes also. And they help in conversion of simple sugar into complex sugar. Okay. Then very important organelle in the plant is chloroplast. Chloroplast. Now chloroplast contains chlorophyll. Okay, chloroplast contain chlorophyll in them. Now what is chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is a pigment which help in photosynthesis. Now the leaves are green. Why they are green? Because their cells contain chloroplast which contain chlorophyll in them. Chlorophyll, actually it is a pigment molecule which imparts color. So chlorophyll is a green pigment which imparts green color to the leaves. So that is why, because the leaves are green. Why? Because the cells contain chlorophyll in them, which is a green pigment. Okay. Function of chlorophyll is to absorb sun energy. So chloroplast basically helps in photosynthesis, because all these green leaves, they photosynthesize, because the plants, they can make their food themselves. How? Because of the photosynthesis process in them. Okay. Or chlorophyll helps in photosynthesis. So plants can make their food themselves. That is why we call them as autotrophs. Then there are other cell organelles like vacuoles. Vacuoles, in the plant cell, as you can see, vacuoles are a big structure. Big structure. One or two vacuoles will be there in the plant cell, which occupy most of the space, and they contain cell sap in them. They contain a liquid in them which is known as cell sap. Cell sap. Cell sap, basically it contains water, then amino acids, then proteins, and then sugars. And it also helps in osmoregulations in some of the organisms. For example, in amoeba, it helps in osmoregulation. Osmoregulation means regulations of water. All right. Then there are other cell organelles also. For example, there are lysosomes. Lysosomes are known as suicidal bags. Lysosomes are known as suicidal bags. Why suicidal bags? Because they contain powerful digestive enzymes in them. Lysosomes, basically, they contain digestive enzymes which help in the digestion. But if something goes wrong, during some cellular disturbance, if sometimes it so happens that lysosomes, they burst and they release their digestive enzymes which can digest the entire thing of the cell, all the organelles of the cell. So its own cell is killed. That is why they are known as suicidal bags of the cell. So this is basically the structure of plant cells and all the cell organelles inside them, which have their own particular function.